See, we will first revise what we have seen already, what we have seen in first and second chapter. So in first and second lecture, in first lecture we have discussed these basic things. Which are these basic things? First of all, time measurement. Then we have discussed about this age, what is meant by age and how this age are named. Next we have discussed about culture, and last thing in the first lecture was about division of history. Division of history. So history is divided into two groups, that is prehistory and then historical phase or historical time. So before this 6th century BC, remember this 6th century BC, before this 6th century BC, everything comes under this prehistory, and after this 6th century BC, this is a historical period. Apart from this two division, that is prehistory and protohistory, we have already seen this, prehistory and historical period, we have already seen this protohistory. So all these things we have already studied in the first lecture. Now tell me, who is the father of Indian archaeology? Write your answer in comment. Who is the father of Indian archaeology? So in the next lecture, in second lecture, we have discussed about various sources of history. Various sources of history. Which are these sources? First, all these sources are divided into two groups. First is literary text or literary source, means text, and second is about this archaeological source or archaeological remains. Remember, these archaeological sources are further divided into three groups. Which are these? First is inscriptions, then coins. First inscription, then coins, and last is material remains. So whatever comes in the archaeological sources, ultimately these are material remains, but within these material remains we have studied these two, inscriptions and coins, separately. Study of the inscription is called as epigraphy and study of the coin is called as numismatics. So study of this coin is numismatic and the study of the inscription is epigraphy. So all these things we have discussed in second lecture. In the next lecture, that is third lecture, we have discussed about Stone Age. Everything is clear till now? Is everything clear? Okay, Alexander Cunningham. Okay. So in the third lecture, we have basically discussed about this Stone Age. Remember, whenever you are revising, don't just read. Whenever you are revising from your side after completion of lecture, take one paper, blank paper, and try to write whatever you remember. See how you should do the revision. What we have seen in the third lecture is about Stone Age. So just write Stone Age. In the Stone Age, we have basically divided this Stone Age into three groups. First is Paleolithic Age, then Mesolithic and Neolithic. But before that, we have also discussed about some basic information. About Stone Age. Like, first is, it started around 2 million years ago, where in Africa. In India, it started around 6 lakh years ago. Why we consider in India it started around 6 lakh years ago? Because whatever evidences we have, whatever the stone tools we have, earliest stone tools are from these 6 lakh years ago. I have also given this example of Bori artifacts, and these artifacts are considered to be from this 1.38 million years ago. But this needs further research. If it is confirmed, then we can say in India also this Stone Age started around this 1.38 million years ago. But for now, you just consider in India it started around 6 lakh years ago. In Africa, it started around 2 million years ago when Homo habilis started using these stones or stone tools. So we have discussed about this basic information. After that we have divided this entire stone age into three ages. Which are these three cultures or ages? First is Paleolithic, then Mesolithic age, and then Neolithic. So we have divided this stone age into Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic age. What is the basis of this division? The basis of this division is most important type of stone tools. Type of stone tools plus technology. Technology they were employing while making this tool. So from Paleolithic to Mesolithic, technology got advanced. From Mesolithic to Neolithic, technology got advanced. So during this initial phase, during this Paleolithic phase, they were basically using this crude and large size stone tools, right? During this Mesolithic period, because of this advancement in the technology, they were using small size stone tools. We call this as a microlith. And during this Neolithic phase, technology again got advanced. Though they were using this microlith, these microliths were now polished. So they were basically using these polished stone tools. So based on the type of stone tools they were using, it is divided into Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic. If you go more further in details, we have discussed in the Paleolithic phase, there are basically, it is again divided into three groups or three phases or three ages, which are these: lower Paleolithic, then middle Paleolithic and then upper Paleolithic. If you consider this lower Paleolithic, during this lower Paleolithic, they were basically using core tools. And which are these core tools? Hand axe, cleavers and choppers. Remember, the tools which humans have used during this lower Paleolithic period is also called as Acheulean tools. Remember, these are the lower Paleolithic tools. Then we have discussed about this middle Paleolithic. In the middle Paleolithic tools, though these were crude and large as compared to lower Paleolithic tools, in the middle Paleolithic they were flake and small size stone tools. So these were flake tools as compared to this lower Paleolithic. These were smaller in size, and we have discussed about this Bihar Public Service Commission. Blades. We have discussed about this Bihar Public Service Commission. Blades, points and then scrapers. In the next phase, that is upper Paleolithic phase, they continue to use this BPSC, but if you consider this blade, now the blades are parallel sided. They have these parallel sides, means they were using parallel sides blade plus burins. We have discussed about this burin. Burin means these burins are nothing but modern day screwdriver. So we have discussed this Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic. At the same time, we have discussed their time period. What is the time period of this Paleolithic phase? Tell me in the comment section. In India, what is this time period of Paleolithic phase? In India, what is this time period of Paleolithic phase? 6 lakh to 10,000. Okay, everyone is clear. So if you consider this Paleolithic phase, it started around 6 lakh and continued till 10,000 BC. 10,000 BC. During this Paleolithic phase, this is Paleolithic period. During this Paleolithic phase, humans were using large and crude stone tools, right? If you consider the next phase, when technology got advanced, this is from 10,000 to 4,000. This is your Mesolithic period. And during this period, people were basically using small sized microlith. Remember, when in certain region people were using microlith, small size stone tools, during the same time, approximately around this 7,000 BCE, in another region people started using these polished stone tools. So this period is considered as Neolithic phase. So we have already discussed about this, why there was an overlap of Mesolithic and Neolithic. if you consider this is 7K, right? So from 7K to 4K, in certain region, people were using microlith. They did not start using this polystone tools. So they were basically in this Mesolithic period. They were in this Mesolithic period. And at the same time, people of other region, if you consider around this 7K, people of Mehergarh, current day in Baluchistan or Pakistan, these people started using this polystone tools. So these sites were in this Neolithic phase. Everything is clear till now? So we have already discussed all these aspects. What is this Paleolithic, Mesolithic and Neolithic? Everything is clear? Now we will see Chalcolithic age. Chalcolithic age. Everything is clear? Abhinav, am I audible to everyone? Okay. So in today's lecture, we are going to discuss this Chalcolithic age or Chalcolithic culture. Chalcolithic age or Chalcolithic culture. So what is meant by this culture? Culture means way of life. So this Chalcolithic culture or Chalcolithic age. Age means time period. During this period or during this culture, people were using chalco or calco means copper and lithic means stone. So the culture developed by using copper and stone. We call this as a Chalcolithic culture. Remember, in last lecture, I have told you during this Stone Age, people were dependent on stone. They did not use this copper, right? Once they start using this copper, the culture based on copper and stone developed. We call this as a Chalcolithic culture. Remember, using the copper means if you get the question, which was the first metal used by human, which was this copper. So when people started using this copper, it was just the beginning, right? It was just the beginning. So can you expect in the initial phase people full-fledged use this copper? No. I have already given you the example. When I was using this mobile in 2014, I just used for 1 or 2 hours throughout this day, maybe less than 1 or 2 hours. But if you consider now I am using this mobile as at least for 4 to 5 hours. Why? Can you say initially I was hesitant to use the mobile? No, I was not hesitant. The main reason was there was no such use of mobile. Means suppose currently I am using this mobile for 5 hours, means I am reading some PDF books and all that were not available during this 2014. Similarly, in the initial phase, copper was not available abundantly. It was not available abundantly. So as copper was not available abundantly, people were still dependent on these stone tools. Means though we have started using this copper in the Chalcolithic age or Chalcolithic age, people are still dependent on these stone tools. If you compare with these copper tools, copper tools and stone tools, you will find these stone tools are more than these copper tools. Means copper tools are minimum during this phase also. If you compare with these stone tools, copper tools are minimum as compared to these stone tools. So remember, though we have started using this copper and stone tools during this period, most number of tools were stone tools during this Chalcolithic age or Chalcolithic culture. So if you see, suppose this is a mount and this is a Mehergarh site. Archaeologists have excavated these layers. In the initial phase, they have found this Neolithic culture. Neolithic culture means what they got is they have got this polystone tools. In the next phase, they got this Chalcolithic culture. Remember, now you can say they found this copper tools here during this Chalcolithic culture, because I already told you during the stone age, we haven't used any copper or any metal, right? But remember, when we started using this copper, just when we started using this copper, that doesn't mean beginning of copper age. That doesn't mean beginning of copper age. We consider the beginning of copper age only when this common people, common man, were using this copper in daily life. Means when the copper use was prevalent, then only we consider this beginning of copper age. That's why when archaeologists have excavated this Mehergarh site, they have found some copper even during this Neolithic period. They have found this copper even during this Neolithic period, but just finding some copper or copper object, that doesn't mean beginning of copper age. No, you can say the beginning of copper age only when the copper was used in this daily life by the common people, when the copper use was more prevalent. So if there is a question, can you find copper in the Neolithic site? Question is yes, we have found this copper in the Mehergarh during this Neolithic layer. Means when we were discussing about the stone age, the first thing I told you about this stone age is people were dependent on stone tools, and next line I told you that they did not use metal. I also asked to mark this star. We are going to change this. So they did not use metal extensively, or they did not use the metals in common day life, but you can definitely find some copper even during this stone age, basically during this Neolithic period. So remember this difference. Just if you find some copper, that doesn't mean the beginning of Chalcolithic age. No, just finding few objects of copper doesn't mean this beginning of Chalcolithic age. When you call this a beginning of Chalcolithic age, when you find this copper in large amount, means when the use of copper was prevalent. So any doubt for anyone? No doubt? So in this lecture we are going to see this Chalcolithic age or Chalcolithic culture. Some call this as a Chalcolithic. Correct pronunciation is Chalcolithic, but don't focus on this pronunciation. So Chalcolithic age or Chalcolithic culture. So culture developed around this copper plus stone. Remember, most of the tools or weapons were made up of this stone, but they have also used this copper significantly. Not that significant, but that was not just a mere presence. More than that, the mere presence. If you consider during this Chalcolithic phase, you are still dependent on stone. So in last lecture we have already discussed where you find these stones. In the hilly area, right? In the hilly area. Plus, if you want to survive, then you definitely need the water. Where you find this water? In river valley. So though we find these Chalcolithic cultures throughout the India, if you see Indian subcontinent, you will find this Chalcolithic culture throughout the India, but it is most common in hilly area and river valley. Hilly area and river valley. It is very less found in this alluvial plain. Alluvial plain. Even during the Stone Age, we have discussed the same thing. Why? In alluvial plain, you won't find these stones. You won't find these stones. And even during this Chalcolithic culture, people were dependent on these stone tools. That's why remember, though these cultures are basically found in entire Indian subcontinent, but these are mainly concentrated in this hilly area and river valley, and these are mostly flourished in this semi-arid region of Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. So these are flourished in this region, Rajasthan, Gujarat, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. Remember, you will find Chalcolithic cultures in entire Indian subcontinent, but these are mostly concentrated in hilly area and river valley. Why hilly area? Because if you have this hilly area, then you will get these stones. Then you can make these stone tools, and in the river valley you will get this water. That's why Chalcolithic culture or Chalcolithic sites are very less in alluvial plain. If you consider this Chirand, we have already seen Chirand is a Neolithic site. If you consider this excavation, when archaeologists have excavated this Chirand, suppose this is mound, and when they excavate, in the initial phase they have found this Neolithic settlement, Neolithic culture. In the next phase they have found this Chalcolithic culture. Means if you consider this Chirand, it is in the Bihar, right? We have already discussed in this Neolithic phase. So in the Bihar, in this Chirand, the next culture is Chalcolithic culture, but these sites are rare if you compare with this hilly area and river valley. So if you see culture based on stone and copper implements, this is called as Chalcolithic culture. The basic timeline is from 4000 to 7000. Now see, from 6 lakh to 10,000 we have this Paleolithic period. During this period people were using crude stone tools. From 10,000 to 4,000 in some region people were using microlith. People were basically using microlith. So these are the Mesolithic site. When some people are using microlith, at the same time some people were using polished stone tools. Some people were using polished stone tools, and these are Neolithic phase. Remember, when some people were using polished stone tools and not metals at the same time in another region. If you see, this is 4K, right? In this 4000 year, some people are still dependent on polished stone tools. They are dependent on polished stone tools. At the same time, in another region, people started using this copper, and culture based on copper and stone is developed. We call this as a Chalcolithic culture. See, there is an overlap. If you find simultaneously Neolithic and Chalcolithic culture, because in this people are still dependent on stone, and in another area people started using this copper at the same time. So see, first we have this Paleolithic phase from 6 lakh to 10,000 BC. Then people started using this microlith, and this is Mesolithic phase from 10,000 to 4,000 BC. Now, if you consider in the 4000 BC, when during this time, when see, during this 4K means 4000 BC, in another region people were basically dependent on polished stone tools. So in this region, when people are basically dependent on stone tools and they were not using any metal, means they were not using metal in daily life. The use of metal was not prevalent. At the same time, in another region people started using this copper, and the culture based on copper plus stone was developed. We call this as a Chalcolithic culture. Means you can definitely find at the same time in the different region, some sites are Neolithic and some sites are Chalcolithic. See, if you consider that after Paleolithic phase there is Mesolithic. After Mesolithic phase, every site will go first through the Neolithic and then Chalcolithic. Then this is a wrong concept. Suppose around this 4000 BC, it's quite possible that people directly start using this copper. So from Mesolithic they will directly jump into this Chalcolithic culture. Some sites from Mesolithic first they go into this Neolithic. From Mesolithic to Neolithic means first earlier they were using this microlith, then they will start using this polished stone tools. After the use of polished stone tools they start using this copper, means after this Neolithic they will enter into this Chalcolithic. If you consider this diagram, so people first, means these sites were basically using this microlith, so they were in this Mesolithic phase or Mesolithic age, right? So now what is your expectation is after Mesolithic they will start using this polished stone tools, so they will directly go into this Neolithic phase. And after this Neolithic phase, means once they started using this polished stone tools, now they will use the copper and they will enter into this Chalcolithic culture or Chalcolithic phase, right? So this is present but not at all sites. Sometimes what happens is after this Mesolithic phase they will directly enter into this Chalcolithic, because Mesolithic ends around this 4K and they start using this copper. So here you will find the use of copper. Along with this use of copper you will also find some polished stone tools, means you will also find the evidence of Neolithic also. So based, if you want to define this culture, this is Neolithic Chalcolithic or Chalcolithic Neolithic culture. So either sites directly first go into this Neolithic site, then they will go into this Chalcolithic means first they will be pure Neolithic sites. First, in some sites you will show this Neolithic phase. These sites are called as pure Neolithic site. Then they will enter into this Chalcolithic, means after the pure Neolithic phase. Once they use this polystone tools, in the next period they will start using this copper. If you consider this Belan Valley in Uttar Pradesh, you find after this Mesolithic they start using these polystone tools. So some of these sites are in the Neolithic phase. After that, after some period, they will start using this copper. So they will enter into this Chalcolithic culture. But if you consider this Maharashtra or Madhya Pradesh or Rajasthan, here the sites are directly jump from Mesolithic to Chalcolithic culture. Means earlier they were using this microlith, they will directly use this copper. In the same time, you will also get this Neolithic phase, means Chalcolithic and Neolithic will be continue at the same time, but they are directly jumping from Mesolithic to Chalcolithic. Remember? So it's any confusion for anyone? So don't consider that every time this site will pass through every culture, like first Paleolithic, then Mesolithic, then Neolithic, then Chalcolithic. No, after the Mesolithic, they can jump to directly Chalcolithic also, because it all based on what we have found. No confusion for Rohan, Abhinav, Hemant, because this is somewhat confusion. Most of the people think that once Paleolithic end then Mesolithic start, once Mesolithic end then Chalcolithic start, but this is not the case. We have already discussed this overlapping in last lecture, and here you consider after the Mesolithic, once they start using these polystone tools without using copper, we call this as a Neolithic site. Once they start using copper, we call this as a Chalcolithic site. But it's quite possible that from Mesolithic they will start directly using this copper, and these are directly Chalcolithic site. Okay, no confusion. I thought it was too confusing for you. See, first of all, we have seen some Paleolithic culture. Next phase is this Mesolithic culture. Suppose we are considering this Belan Valley. We are considering this Belan Valley. In the Belan Valley, we have seen this Mesolithic sites. Few of this Mesolithic sites like BMC. I told you this C is most important. Chopani, Mando. So remember these three sites. These are in these Mesolithic sites in the Belan Valley. If you see in the Belan Valley, after this Mesolithic site, you will find some Neolithic site like Koldiva. So Koldiva is Neolithic site. Means if you consider in the Belan Valley, first you have found this Mesolithic site. After this Mesolithic site, there are few Neolithic sites. After this Neolithic sites, there are few Chalcolithic sites. Same sites in the next phase. This shows the evidence of Chalcolithic culture. So this is Chalcolithic sites. So this transition from Mesolithic to Neolithic and from Neolithic to Chalcolithic, it is true for this Belan Valley, right? But if you consider this Rajasthan, Maharashtra or Madhya Pradesh, after this Mesolithic, people directly started using copper. These are directly jump into this Chalcolithic. But at the same time, you have also found the evidences of Neolithic culture also. So we call this as a Chalcolithic Neolithic or Neolithic Chalcolithic culture. Now remember, the most part is here. Most important part is here. In last lecture, we have seen during this Paleolithic phase, people were basically hunter-gatherers. During this Mesolithic phase, people were again hunter-gatherers. Now tell me the difference between Paleolithic and Mesolithic. You have two options. One is Paleolithic, second is Neolithic. Tell me who were these hunter-gatherers of Holocene epoch. Hunter-gatherers of Holocene epoch. You know Hunters gatherers are basically during this Paleolithic and Mesolithic people. So during which time we can define them as a hunter gatherers of Holocene epoch, whether these are Paleolithic people or Mesolithic people. Okay, that means every concept is clear, right? So now remember, hunter gatherers of Pleistocene epoch means they were Paleolithic people. Hunter gatherers of Holocene means they were Mesolithic people. But in Neolithic phase, we have discussed Neolithic people were first farmers, right? Neolithic people were first farmers. We have also discussed about this site from 7000 BC, Mehergarh in Balochistan, Pakistan, right? So these were the first farmers in India. If you consider in overall in India, these Neolithic people were first farmers. But if you see in case of Rajasthan or Madhya Pradesh or Maharashtra, is there any Neolithic phase? Pure Neolithic phase? No. After this Mesolithic phase, they are directly transition into this Chalcolithic. So remember, the first farmer in this region is Chalcolithic people. Chalcolithic people of Rajasthan, MP means Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. Here you won't find directly pure Neolithic phase. Whenever you find this Neolithic phase in the after this Mesolithic, you can definitely say in the Belan Valley the first farmer were Neolithic people. But you can you say the same thing in this Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra? No, because here after this Mesolithic there is directly start of this Chalcolithic culture. So remember, if you face this dilemma or if you face the question in overall India, first farmers were Neolithic people. But if the question is specific to this Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh or Maharashtra, or in such region where there is no pure Neolithic phase, there is no pure Neolithic phase means Neolithic and Chalcolithics are combined. That means after this Mesolithic, this site directly show the evidence of Chalcolithic culture. In such sites, first farmers are Chalcolithic people. Now everything is clear. Is everything clear? Okay. Remember, these are not just the simple concepts. If you are getting this information, you are fine. Means if you are every time if you are answering the correct answer, that means you have this strong understanding of this concept. Because you might find these concepts as simple, but these are not a simple concepts. You can try in your friend circle. You can ask your friends. These are not the simple questions. Okay. If it is clear for everyone, we will move for this next part. Remember, overall culture is Chalcolithic culture. Chalcolithic culture. What this means is people were dependent on copper plus stone. Though overall culture is Chalcolithic culture, there are some variations. If you find the region Rajasthan, they have this different type of culture. If you find the region of Madhya Pradesh, they have some different type of culture. If you find in the Maharashtra, they have this different type of culture. What is meant by this culture? In the first lecture we have discussed culture means way of life. So the way of life of people living in Rajasthan was different from Madhya Pradesh, was different from Maharashtra. So in different region you will find some variations. Because of this, though overall it is dependent on copper and stone, means overall it is Chalcolithic culture. Among this Chalcolithic culture there are variations. That's why we call this Chalcolithic period as Chalcolithic cultures. Chalcolithic culture. So you find many culture like Ahar culture, then Malwa culture, then Jorwe culture. These are different type of cultures. Though overall they come under this Chalcolithic, means they are dependent on copper and stone, but they have this different lifestyle. In every region we find this different way of life. That's why this Chalcolithic culture is not a single homogeneous culture. There are many cultures within this Chalcolithic culture. Now we will see one by one. We will see one by one. Okay, no confusion for anyone. Remember, I have already told you these Chalcolithic cultures are found throughout this India, but they are mainly concentrated in hilly area and river valley. Hilly area and river valley. Now tell me, if you see, suppose this is a Ganga river and this is Yamuna, where they meet. Tell me this place, name of this place, where this Ganga and Yamuna meet. What is the name of this place? Rohan, what is this name of this place? Triveni Sangam, Prayagraj. Okay. So earlier it was Allahabad. Now we call this as a Prayagraj, right? Prayagraj, right? So this is Yamuna river. Can you tell me the tributaries of Yamuna? See, do you know this team CSK? Chennai Super Kings? All these are tributaries of this Yamuna. Chambal, Sindh, Betwa and K. CSK. These are tributaries of this Yamuna. CSK. So Yamuna is going from this direction, right? From west to east. Whenever you find this difficulty, whether this is right tributary or left tributary, just you can go from this side to this side. If you are going from this side, all the river on these sides are right bank tributaries, or this river these sides are left bank. Suppose you are going from this side, right? So Yamuna flows like this. Suppose you are going from this side, means Yamuna is flowing this side. All these sides, all these tributaries are right bank tributaries. So this CSK, Chenab, Sindh, Betwa and K, all these are right bank tributaries. If you see, this is Chenab river. It passed from Madhya Pradesh to this Rajasthan. In Rajasthan, in this Chenab river valley, we have three important sites. First is Ahar, then Balathal and Gilund. All these sites are in this, sorry, not Chenab. This is from sea. Which one is this? Tributaries of Yamuna. We have this Chambal, right? Sorry, it's not Chenab, it's Chambal. Jhelum, Chenab, Ravi, Bia, Satluj, all these are tributaries of Indus. So this is this is Chambal river. So if you see this Chambal river in the Rajasthan, in this Chambal river valley, we have three important sites: Ahar, Balathal and Gilun. The first discovered site was Ahar. That's why we call this culture as a Ahar culture. We call this culture as a Ahar culture. And we are in the first lecture, we have already discussed how these cultures are named. Cultures can be named based on this first discovered site. Second, cultures can be named based on the region. So all these are located in this Banas valley. That's why this culture is also called as Banas culture. This culture is also called as Banas culture. So in Rajasthan, you have three most important sites. These are Ahar, Balathal and Gilund. All these sites are present in this Rajasthan. We call this culture as a Ahar culture or Banas culture. Any confusion for anyone? Okay, no. See, remember this river. This is tributary of Yamuna. Which river it is? Chambal. Suppose this is Yamuna and this is Chambal. Oh, we have slightly missed one tributaries. So now focus once again. Sorry. Suppose this is Ganga, this is Yamuna, this is Prayagraj. So this is Chambal, this is CSK, Chambal, Sindh, Betwa and Ken, right? So we have this tributary of Chambal, that is Banas. Tributary of Chambal, that is Banas. In this Banas river valley, we have three important sites: Ahar, Balathal and Gilund. So all these three sites are part of this Ahar culture, because first discovered site was Ahar, or it is also called as Banas culture because of this region. See, this is Chambal river, right? In the Madhya Pradesh. In the Madhya Pradesh, we have one site Kaitha. This is in this Chambal river valley. So in the Chambal river valley, we have this site Kaitha, and the culture is called as Kaitha culture. Culture is called as Kaitha culture. Again, we have some other sites like Malwa and Naudatoli in the Madhya Pradesh itself. These are located on this Narmada river. We have this Narmada river, and these are part of Malwa culture. These are part of Malwa culture. So remember, we have this tributaries Chambal, Sindh, Betwa, Ken, and the Banas is tributary of this Chambal river. So in Rajasthan, on this Banas river valley, we have three important sites: Ahar, Balathal and Gilund. All are part of this Banas or Ahar culture. Similarly, if you consider this Chambal river in the Madhya Pradesh, we have these sites, Kaitha sites in the Chambal river valley, and the culture is Kaitha culture. Similarly, south of this river and south of these sites, we have this Narmada river. In the Narmada river, we have two important sites, Malwa and Naudatoli, and we call this as a Malwa culture. So everything is clear. So we have seen three culture: one in Rajasthan, Ahar, Balathal and Gilund. This is a part of Ahar culture. In Madhya Pradesh, we have seen first is Kaitha culture and second is Malwa culture. Now consider this south of this Madhya Pradesh, means Maharashtra. So suppose this is Narmada river. In the Narmada river, we have this Malwa site, then Naudatoli, right? So after this Narmada, we have this Tapi river. In the Tapi river, we have this site Prakash. We have this site Prakash. If you consider this Godavari river, this is Godavari river. In the Godavari river, in the beginning itself, we have this Nashik. Then in the Nagar district, we have this tributary of Godavari, that is Pravara river. And in the Pravara, we have three important sites: J and D, Jorwe, Nevasa and Daimabad. Then we have this Bhima river in the Pune district. It is tributary of this Krishna river, right? It is tributary of Krishna river. So in this Bhima river, if you consider this is Bhima river, in the Pune district, we have three important sites: ICS, Indian Civil Service, because most of the people who are preparing for UPSC are basically from Pune in Maharashtra. So these sites Inamgaon, Chandoli and Songaon. If question asked, match the following sites and then river. Remember this: in Maharashtra, we have this Prakash in this Tapi valley. Then we have this Nashik on this Godavari river. Then in Ahmednagar district, we have this Jorwe, Nevasa and Daimabad. These are located in this Pravara river. Then we have this Bhima river. In Bhima river, we have this ICS, Inamgaon, Chandoli and Songaon. All these are located in this Pune district. So all these sites are part of Jorwe culture. All these are parts of Jorwe culture. We will see another culture in Maharashtra later on, but first of all, remember all these are part of Jorwe culture. So this is Prakash site located in this Tapi river, then Nashik on this Godavari, then Jorwe, Nevasa and Daimabad on this Pravara river, and then ICS, Inamgaon, Chandoli and Songaon on this Bhima river. All these are part of Jorwe culture. Remember, if you get this statement, this Godavari Pravara river or Godavari Pravara river valley, it is nucleus of this Jorwe culture. Is it correct? Jorwe culture is outside here also and on these sides also. So this Pravara Godavari valley, it is considered as nucleus of Jorwe culture. Again, if you consider this Maharashtra, this is coastal side of Maharashtra and this is Vidarbha. In some text, it is given that Jorwe culture is present in entire Maharashtra except this coastal Konkan and Vidarbha. If you find the statement, you can mark it as a correct. But in some standard sources, it is also given that Jorwe culture is present in Maharashtra except Konkan. Means they have also included this Vidarbha part also. Then you mark this statement as a correct. Whether it is saying except Konkan or except Konkan plus Vidarbha, mark both statement as correct. So do you understand? All these sites, cultural sites, different culture. Any confusion for anyone? Yes, Navdatoli is on Narmada river. Little confusion for Abhinav. Okay. Sridhar, name of third site. Okay, we will just take once again these sites. Remember, in Rajasthan, we have this Chambal river, right? And the tributary of Chambal was Banas. So in Rajasthan, we have three important sites, which are these Ahar, Balathal, and Gilund. Ahar, Balathal, and Gilund. We call this culture as a Ahar culture or Banas culture. Next, if you consider this Madhya Pradesh, in the Madhya Pradesh, on this Chambal river, we have this Kaitha sites, and the culture is Kaitha culture. Then we have two important sites on this Narmada river. Which are these two important sites? First is Malwa and then Navdatoli. These are on this Narmada river. We call this culture as a Malwa culture. So remember, in Rajasthan we have most important this Ahar culture. In Madhya Pradesh we have this Kaitha culture and Malwa culture. And next is Maharashtra, south of this. In the Maharashtra, there are two important culture. First is, suppose this is Tapi river, then this is Godavari, this is tributary of Godavari means Pravara river, this is Godavari, then this is Bhima. This is Bhima river. If you see from this Tapi river to Godavari river, you will find some sites which shows this Savalda culture. Savalda culture. Important site is Savalda. This is site located in this Tapi river valley and it shows this Savalda culture. Other sites also show this Savalda culture, but remember this important site Savalda from this Savalda culture. We have also seen in the Maharashtra itself Jorwe culture. Jorwe culture. So which are these sites which are showing the Jorwe culture? In Tapi we have this Prakash, then we have this Nashik from this Godavari. In Prahara means on this Pravara river valley we have these three important sites which are these Jorwe, Nevasa and Daimabad. These also show Jorwe culture. Next, on this Bhima river in Pune district we have this Indian Civil Service, Inamgaon, Songaon and Chandoli. All these shows Jorwe culture. Remember, one site can show more than one culture. Am I right? One site can show more than two cultures. Suppose, take this Daimabad. Actually, this Savalda culture extends from Tapi river to Godavari. Means in this region, if you consider this Daimabad, first Daimabad will show Savalda culture, features of Savalda culture. After some time, the same Daimabad will show evidences of this Jorwe culture, because these are basically Chalcolithic culture. Both are based on copper plus stone. But initially in Daimabad, they have this different way of life. It shows this Savalda culture, and in next phase they have this different phase of life. They show this Jorwe culture. Any problem? Yes, Bhima is tributary of Krishna. See, whatever I have told you, all these sites belonging to this Jorwe culture. But this Jorwe culture basically, if you consider the time period of Jorwe culture is 1400 to 700. So even before that, if you consider this before that, all these sites show different culture. We are just in this lecture, our main focus is just check the important sites and important culture. So Jorwe culture is most important. So all these sites are part of this Jorwe culture. But before this 1400, this site shows different culture. If you take this Daimabad, initially it shows this Savalda culture also. What is meant by this culture? Culture means way of life. So there is no problem for anyone. Okay. Because this is too much confusing. Because what people think is that if Daimabad shows Jorwe culture, means it should not show this Savalda culture. Why? It can have the different way of life initially, so it shows this Savalda culture. After some period during this 1400 to 700, it is showing this Jorwe culture. Remember, in Maharashtra, most important for you is Jorwe culture. If they ask the question, it will be directly from this Jorwe culture. So is it okay for everyone? Now we will see all these sites on map. Okay. So suppose initially it is Mesolithic culture, then Mesolithic culture can be followed by Neolithic, and after that Neolithic people started using this copper, and it will be basically Chalcolithic, or Mesolithic culture directly transition into Chalcolithic culture. If Mesolithic culture directly transition into this Chalcolithic culture, in that region the first farmers were Chalcolithic people. First farmers were Chalcolithic people, and it is common in Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. After this, if you take most of the sites, after this Mesolithic culture, they will directly show this Chalcolithic culture. If you consider this Belan Valley, first it shows this Neolithic culture, then they started using this copper, and it shows this Chalcolithic culture. So the first farmer here are Neolithic people. Neolithic people. I have given you the example of this Belan Valley. In Mesolithic period, we have three important sites, which are this BMC. Remember this C, Chopani Mando, right? So after this Mesolithic sites, we have found some pure Neolithic sites like Koldiva and Mahagada. And after this Neolithic phase, we have found some Chalcolithic sites like Koldiva. So if you consider Belan Valley, Mesolithic first transition into Neolithic, then Chalcolithic. So what are meant by these Chalcolithic settlements? These are settlements based on copper plus stone. We have already seen these are found almost all over the Indian subcontinent, but mostly concentrated in this hilly area and river valley. But you find these settlements all over the India, but mostly concentrated in this hilly land and river valley. You won't find most of the settlements in alluvial plain or thickly forested area. And these are mostly flourished in the semi-arid region of Rajasthan, Madhya Pradesh and Maharashtra. So see, these sites, Ahar, then Giloon, then Balathal, all these sites are located on this Banas river. So this is called as Ahar culture or Banas culture. If you see this region, first you will find this Kaitha, next Nagda, both are located on this Chambal river valley. Next, this Kaitha have this separate culture, Kaitha culture, and other than this Kaitha, like Nagda, then Eran or Tolli and Malwa, both are located on this Narmada river. All are part of this Malwa culture. So in Madhya Pradesh, you have Kaitha culture and then Malwa culture. In the Kaitha culture, you have most important site is Kaitha. If you see Malwa culture, you can find these sites Nagda, Iran, Tolli and Malwa. If you see all these remaining sites in the Maharashtra, see this Prakash on this Tapi river, or Nashik on this Narmada river, or Jorwe, Nevasa and Daimabad on this Pravara river, all part of this Jorwe culture. But before Jorwe culture in Maharashtra, we have one more culture, that is Savalda culture, from this Tapi to Godavari. Remember, Daimabad is important. In the Savalda culture, Daimabad is important. So in Rajasthan, we have already seen this Ahar culture or Banas culture. Most important sites are Ahar, Balathal and Gilun. These are located on this Banas river valley. Remember, all these sites are important for some facts plus match the following type of question, because I have already told you in the last lecture, Stone Age and Chalcolithic Age, these are not important for mains. Even they have less importance in prelims, but if they ask the question, basically they will ask two type of question. First is match the following question and second is directly fact. So if you see Madhya Pradesh, we have two basic cultures, Kaitha culture and Malwa culture. So Kaitha culture, we have important site Kaitha in this Chamba river valley. Then we have in the Malwa culture Nagda, Eran, Malwa and Tolli. Remember these two important sites, Malwa and Tolli. These are located on this Narmada river or Narmada river valley. If you consider Maharashtra, first in earlier phase in some sites you will find this Savalda culture. Most important sites are Savalda, Kauthe. You will find more sites in this culture, but most important are Savalda and Kauthe. Both are in this Tapi river. Then you will find this Jorwe culture. All these sites are part of Jorwe culture. Prakash on this Tapi river, Nashik on this Godavari river. In the Ahmednagar or Ahilyanagar district, Jorwe, Daimabad, Nevasa, all these are on this Pravara river. And in Pune district, ICS, Inamgaon, Chandoli and Songaon, all are located in this Bhima river. Is it fine? Any confusion for anyone? Okay, Yogesh. Yogesh is saying I am from Ahilyanagar. Now all is fine. Okay, Abhinav. Rohan, Sanjana. All clear. So remember, what is meant by this Chalcolithic culture? Culture based on copper and stone. Culture based on copper and stone. But you have to remember, most of the time they mainly dependent on stone, but they also started using this copper. Within this Chalcolithic culture, means within this common framework of use of copper plus stone, there are some regional variations. That's why we have this different type of culture. Like in the Rajasthan, we have this Ahar culture. If you consider Maharashtra, we have this Jorwe culture. If you consider Madhya Pradesh, we have this Malwa culture and Kaitha culture. So because of these regional variations, we have this different type of culture. Now we will see some common feature of Chalcolithic culture. Remember, in the first phase, that is Paleolithic phase, people were hunter-gatherers. In the Mesolithic, they just started this primitive cultivation and domestication. In the next phase, Neolithic phase, they started this agriculture. So this is the next of this Neolithic phase. So during this time, they developed this culture based on use of stone and copper. But I have already told you, you won't find most of this copper object, but you will find most of these stone tools. But the sites which are in Rajasthan, which are the sites in Rajasthan like Ahar or Gilun, all these sites are located in near the source of copper, near the source of copper, because the Khetri region of Rajasthan is famous for copper. So in these sites like Ahar and Gilun, you will find the most number of copper objects. A good number of copper objects are found in this Ahar and Gilun. Why? In general, in any sites, you will find these copper objects very less, but particularly in the Ahar culture, that is Ahar and Gilun, you will find a good number of copper objects. The reason is this site is located near to this copper resource. And in general, this Chalcolithic people, or during this Chalcolithic culture, they were not aware of mixing copper plus tin. Means they did not know how to make this bronze. But we have found this bronze sheet in this Ahar. In the Ahar and Daimabad. Remember these sites, Ahar from Rajasthan and Daimabad from Maharashtra. We have found some low grade bronze sheets and some bronze objects. In general they did not use bronze, but in exception we have found some bronze sheets and bronze objects in Ahar and Daimabad. So this is first. This culture was basically based on this stone tools and copper objects. Next is painted ceramic or painted pottery. Remember, during this Neolithic phase, people started this agriculture. When they start this agriculture, they have these grains, and to store these grains, they made this pottery. Earlier, we consider that during this Neolithic phase, people started using pottery, but only in the next phase, that is the Chalcolithic phase, people started using this painted pottery or painted ceramic. This was earlier view. Remember, in the CDS 2012, there was question when people started first time this painted pottery or painted ceramic, and UPSC has given answer as a Chalcolithic culture, but this is no longer valid. Now we have found many sites where in the Neolithic phase itself, people have started using this painted pottery. In our book, I have mentioned that Chalcolithic people were first to use this painted pottery. Make some correction, not the Chalcolithic. Neolithic people were first to use this painted pottery, because we have found this evidences of painted pottery in the Neolithic phase itself. If you see the old NCERTs, in old NCERTs they have given the same line, that is Chalcolithic people were first to use this painted pottery. But remember, not the Chalcolithic. Even during this Neolithic phase, people started using this painted pottery. But these painted potteries were increased in number during this Chalcolithic phase, and this painted ceramic or painted pottery was distinguished feature. Now we will see this painted ceramic or painted pottery. So most common during this period is black and red ware. Remember, two types. I will tell you the difference between black and red ware and black on red ware. Suppose this is type of pottery. First is black and red, means whatever goods or whatever pottery we have, these are black and red color. In the next, see, black on red ware means the color of pottery is only red color. If you see this black on red means suppose this is a pottery we have, so this entire pottery will be in the black color, because this is a black ware, and whatever design we have on it, it is on this black color. So this is black on, entire pottery is in red color, because this is a red ware, right? And whatever design we have, it is in this black color. So this is black on red, means basically the ware is pottery is red colored, we have design on this black. But if you consider this black and red ware, means whatever goods, whatever pottery we have, these are black and red in color. Suppose this is a pottery, then either this inner part will be on red color and outer is black, or inner part is in black color and outer is red, means, or if you consider this outer surface, half upper part will be in the black and lower part in the red, something like that, means entire color of pottery consists of these two colors, black and red. So this is black and red ware. If you consider black on red, means color of pottery is red colored and we have design on black. So remember this difference. So during this Chalcolithic period, most common painted ceramic or painted pottery was black and red ware. We have this black and red ware. So if you consider three important culture, first is Ahar culture from Rajasthan, next is Malwa culture from this Madhya Pradesh, and next is Jorwe culture from Maharashtra. Jorwe culture from Maharashtra. If you consider this Ahar culture, we have this black and red ware. Means color of pottery consists of two colors, black and red. If you consider this Jorwe culture, we have this black on red pottery. Means color of pottery is red. So this is red colored pottery and the surface is matte surface. Means without that too much glow. Without that glow means matte surface. This is red pottery with black, means design on this pottery was black in color. And if you consider this Malwa culture, this is neither black nor red. This is buff colored. Means this light brown, yellowish brown color with design in black or red. So remember, these are the type of potteries we have found. If you consider this Ahar culture, most of these potteries are black and red ware, black and red colored. Here if you see the design is using white color. Design is using white color. If you consider this Jorwe culture, black on red, means color of pottery was red. These wares or goods were in the red color and you have this design in black color. If you consider this Malwa culture, we have design with black and red, but most of the potteries were in the buff color. Any confusion for anyone? So this painted ceramic is a distinguished feature of this Chalcolithic cultures. Next is subsistence agriculture. Remember, subsistence agriculture. We have already seen in this Neolithic phase itself. In the Neolithic phase, people settled. People were not migrating from one place to another place, and most important reason for this settlement was they started this agriculture. And this agriculture was just beginning. So they used this stone hoe. But they did not use this plow, right? They did not use this plow in the first instance, means during this Neolithic phase. But if you consider this Chalcolithic phase, this is the next step. So they started using this plow. But even during this phase, they did not use any technology. That's why if you consider the agriculture, it was still subsistence. The agriculture was still subsistence. Subsistence agriculture means, suppose there are 1,000 people, then 1,000 people are producing only food for 1,000 people. Means there was no surplus food grain production even during this Chalcolithic phase. The most important reason is they did not use any technology in agriculture. They started using this plow, but they did not use any technology. But this agriculture is one step ahead of this Neolithic. How? They cultivated more cereals. They cultivated more cereals than this Neolithic phase. And if you consider this size, Nauda Tolli, which is a part of Naudatuli is a part of which culture? Tell me in the comment section. Naudatuli is a part of Jorwe culture, Malwa culture, or this Ahar culture. In Naudatuli, you will find the evidences of all food grains. Means whatever food grains they cultivated in all the different sites, you will find the evidences of all in this Naudatuli site. So Naudatuli is from which culture? It is a part of Malwa culture. Oh Hemant, how it is part of Savalda? It is from Madhya Pradesh, right? So it is a part of this Malwa culture. Yes, yes, Hemant. Hemant is saying, sir, in Ahar, white is used for design. Yes, the basic type of wear or pottery in the Ahar culture was black and red, and they use this white for designing. White for designing. Okay, Hemant. So, if you consider this agriculture, even during this Chalcolithic phase, agriculture was still subsistence. So, agriculture was subsistence, but they cultivated more cereals. They cultivated more cereals than Neolithic phase, and you have one important site, that is Navdatoli. So in the Navdatoli, you have found this evidences of cultivation of all food grains. So this is about this subsistence agriculture. So till now we have discussed 3 points. First is it is based on copper plus stone. Second is we have found this painted ceramic. Mostly these painted ceramics are black and red ware. In different culture we have seen this difference. In our culture they have used this black and red ware plus white design. In the Jorwe culture, we have seen this black on red. So red color pottery and design using black. In the Malwa culture, we have seen this buff colored pottery plus paint in black and red. So this was second point, painted ceramic. Third point we have discussed about this subsistence agriculture. Now the fourth point is use of animals or domestication of animals. Remember, we have started this in small scale, primitive. We have started this domestication of animal during this Mesolithic culture, but mostly in the Neolithic culture, they started this agriculture, means farming plus domestication of animal. It was started in Mesolithic, but it was well settled in the Neolithic. In the Chalcolithic, means next phase, they basically domesticated animals, right? The main question here is whether they were acquainted with horses or not, means whether they were aware of these horses or not. Remember, till Vedic culture, till Vedic culture or Vedic age, whenever the question comes whether they were acquainted with horses or not, say no, because till now we consider that horses come along with these Aryans during this early Vedic period. That's why before this early Vedic period, Paleolithic phase, Mesolithic phase, Neolithic phase, Chalcolithic phase, or next is Indus Valley civilization. If the question comes whether people were aware of horses, answer is no. Similarly, in this Chalcolithic age, people, they did this domestication of animal, but they were not aware of these horses. And most important is they did not use animals fully. They only used animals for the slaughtering, means they kill this animal and use their meat, but they did not use their milk. They did not use their milk, means they did not fully use these animals. Next, if you consider during this Paleolithic and Mesolithic period, people were migrating from one place to another place. People were basically nomadic hunters and gatherers. But during this Neolithic phase, people settled. They settled and they built these mud brick houses. Similarly, even during this Chalcolithic period, people were lived in these mud brick houses. They were not aware of these burnt bricks. They were not aware of this burnt bricks. Exception is Gilund. Exception is Gilund. In the Gilund, we have found this evidences of burnt bricks. We have found these evidences of burnt bricks. Remember, whenever we are discussing about every aspect of Chalcolithic, first aspect we have discussed about this copper plus stone. In the copper and stone, I have given you the example of this Ahar and Daimabad. Why? Because in Ahar and Daimabad, we have found this bronze sheets or bronze objects, right? In general, during this Chalcolithic culture, we won't find these bronze objects, but we have found this bronze object in Ahar and Daimabad. In the next point, like the subsistence agriculture, I have given you the example of this Navdatoli. Why this Navdatoli is famous? Because we found the evidences of all the food grains from this Navdatoli. Now this is third point. Generally, they did not use these burnt bricks, but I have given you the example. This is Gilund, where we have found this evidences of burnt bricks. So all these questions are extremely important. They will focus mostly on such facts, where we have found these bronze sheets or bronze objects, where we have found these burnt bricks. in this Chalcolithic culture, because these are the exceptions for these general features. Next is rural settlement. Next is rural settlement. Rural settlement. Remember, during this Paleolithic and Mesolithic, they migrated from one place to another place, and they were nomadic hunters gatherers. During this Neolithic phase, they settled. During this Neolithic phase, they settled in one place. The most important reason for this settlement was they started this agriculture. So once they settled in one place, they started building these small villages. They started building these small villages. But after this Neolithic phase, in the next phase, that is Chalcolithic culture, now they are cultivating more cereals than this Neolithic phase. They are more settled during this Chalcolithic. So during this Chalcolithic, they build the large villages. If question comes, in India, first time when you will find these large villages, answer is Chalcolithic, not Neolithic. In the Neolithic, you will find these smaller villages. In the Chalcolithic, you will find these larger villages. Remember, during this Neolithic phase, they were basically dependent on stone, right? During this Chalcolithic phase, along with the stone, they are also using metals. Though they are using metals, still you won't find any urbanization. Means they use metals, but they did not use metals so extensively so that they can build these urban centers. You won't find these urban centers or urbanization during this Chalcolithic culture. You never find this urbanization during this Chalcolithic culture. Most of the settlements were villages, and some of the villages were large villages. Remember two important sites, Daimabad and Inamgaon. Daimabad and Inamgaon. From this, which culture? Tell me. This Daimabad and Inamgaon are from which culture? Jorwe culture, Ahar culture, or Malwa culture? In Daimabad and Inamgaon, you will find these sites almost reach urbanization. Almost reach urbanization, but not clear urbanization. Means they almost reach urbanization, but not clear urbanization. So from which culture these two sites are? Okay, both of these sites are from this Jorwe culture. See, whenever we are discussing any feature of Chalcolithic culture, I am giving you the examples or some sites, and these are exception to the general rules, and these are important for your facts. See, in first we have discussed about this culture is based on copper plus stone. They did not use bronze, but I have given you the exception, that is Ahar plus Daimabad. Here we have found this low grade bronze. Low grade bronze. Next, second point was about this subsistence agriculture. In the subsistence agriculture, I have given you the example of Nauda Tolli. In the Nauda Tolli, you will find all food grains. All food grains. Next, third is domestication of animal. I have not given any example during this period, but remember, they did not use animal fully. They did not use the animals for milk. They only slaughtered or they only killed animals. Fourth point was about mud and brick houses. Mud and brick houses. Here I have given you the example of Gilund. Why this site is important? We have found this burnt bricks. We have found this burnt bricks in the Gilund. Next is fifth point. Fifth point is about rural settlement. Rural settlement. So all these sites you will find first time large villages are found during this Chalcolithic culture. I have given you the exception. Sorry, this is not the exception. I have given you the two examples like Daimabad and Inamgaon. If you consider these two sites, Daimabad and Inamgaon, from this Jorwe culture, they almost reach urbanization. They almost reach urbanization, but these were not urban centers. Remember, these were still large sites or large villages. not these urban centers. Now next, if you want to see the next picture, see during this time, if you see their settlements, or first we will see their burial practices. If you consider their burial practices, so this dead body was first placed in urn. What is mean by this urn? Urn means nothing but this pot. Suppose this is a pot and they are placing their dead body here. So this pot is called as urn. So once they place this body in urn, if you consider this Western India or Maharashtra, in Western India they place this in north-south direction. But if you consider this South India, they place this body in east-west direction. So if you are talking about this west, placement is north-south. If you are talking about the south, placement is east-west. This is about this burial practices. Next, if you see, suppose this is urn, means this is pot where they are placing this dead body. So for the next life, for this next life of this dead body, they place some important like stones or copper tools, etc. so that this person can use this stone or copper for the next life. If you consider in some burials, you find only stone tools. But if you consider other burials, you will find these copper tools or copper ornaments. This shows inequality. This shows inequality. How? Because in certain urn, like in certain burials, you will find only stone tools. Maybe these are poor people. In another this urn or burials, you will find many copper objects or many copper ornaments. Means these are, maybe it is possibility these are rich people. Now I have question for you. If you have only two options, that is 0 and 1, tell me the Gini coefficient. Gini coefficient during this period. Tell me the Gini coefficient for this period, whether it is 0 or 1. Sir, at 8 p.m. please leave us. Shanu, if you have time, continue. Otherwise, you can left or you can leave this meeting and later you can watch this recorded lectures. So Gini coefficient will be 1. We already discussed all these things in these burials. So if you consider their settlements, some settlements are smaller in size and some settlements are larger in size. This also shows inequality. Some settlements are smaller in size, means they might be inhabited by the poor people. Some settlements are larger in size, means they might be inhabited by these rich people. Again, within these settlements, some houses are large rectangular and some houses are smaller rounded. So these might be occupied by rich people and these might be occupied by poor people. So this overall in the Chalcolithic culture, all these points shows there was social inequality. There was social inequality. Remember, most of the feature of this Chalcolithic culture are same as Neolithic, plus they started using this copper, because even during this Neolithic phase they started using this pottery. Even during this period they started using, means they were using this pottery. During this Neolithic phase they use this pottery which are colored. Even during this period they also use this pottery and which are colored. But the main difference is during this Neolithic phase you will find these painted potteries but not in great amount. But if you consider this Chalcolithic phase, you will find this pottery in greater number, this colored pottery. Even during this Neolithic phase, agriculture was subsistence. Even during this Chalcolithic phase, agriculture was subsistence. So these are the basic feature of this Chalcolithic culture. Now remember, this is most important point. So the next point is extremely important. Kindly pay more attention for this point. See, we have discussed about this Ahar culture. Suppose this is Ahar culture. We have discussed about in Madhya Pradesh we have this Kaitha culture. Next we have this Malwa culture. Right? In the south, that is in Maharashtra, we have this Savalda culture. Next we have this Jorwe culture. Any confusion for anyone? Any confusion for anyone? So this is part of Madhya Pradesh, this is part of Maharashtra, and this is part of Rajasthan. Tell me, any confusion for anyone? No confusion. See, what is meant by this culture? Culture means particular way of life. Particular way of life, and archaeologists find this way of life based on material remains. Based on material remains means whatever the type of pottery they have found, whatever the material remains, tools, implements they have found, based on this, if they found the same tools, implements or pottery, they placed all these sites in single culture. Means this culture, Ahar culture, whatever the sites we have, Ahar or Balathal or Gilun, all these sites shows similarity in material remains. Means they have the common features, like they have the same way of life. That's why we consider this as a Ahar culture. And I have already told you, these cultures can be named based on the region where it is located. Ahar or Banas. Ahar is based on first discovered site, we call this as a Ahar culture, and it is located in the Banas river valley. That's why we call this as a Banas culture. But can you say Ahar culture or Banas culture only found in the Rajasthan? Only found in Rajasthan means this type of way of life you will find only in Rajasthan? No, you can also find this Ahar culture outside the Rajasthan. Because what is meant by this culture? Culture means basically way of life. The way people are living in the Ahar, you can find the similarity in other region also. So that's why if you consider this Ahar culture, you will also find evidences of Ahar culture in Madhya Pradesh also. If you see this Kaitha culture first show, Kaitha site first show evidences of Kaitha culture, then in the later period it will also show the evidences of Ahar culture. So in the earlier phase, Kaitha is in Kaitha culture, then in the next phase it will be in the Ahar culture. Similarly, if you see this Malwa culture, so Malwa culture means Malwa, what is the name? Means why this name is given Malwa culture? Because it is located in the Malwa region. But in the first lecture I have clarified, if the name is Malwa doesn't mean it is restricted to the same region. No, you can find the same culture in other region also. Means you can find the same culture, same way of life in other region. Similarly, you have found this Malwa culture in Maharashtra also. You have found this Malwa culture in Maharashtra region also. If you particularly see this Daimabad. So this Daimabad basic site, first it will show this Savalda culture, then it will show the evidences of this Malwa culture, then in the next phase it will show the evidences of this Jorwe culture. Is it clear for everyone? Is it clear for everyone? What I am trying to say is, if you see Malwa culture, don't think that this culture will only find in Madhya Pradesh. No, you can also find the culture in other region also. Like I have given you the example of Daimabad. Daimabad initially show the evidences of the Savalda culture. Then it will show the evidences of Malwa culture. Then it will show the evidences of this Jorwe culture. Culture is nothing but way of life. So way of life of Malwa people and Daimabad can be same. So is it clear for everyone? So this is the most difficult concept. In general, what we consider is, if you consider this Maharashtra, we consider that in Maharashtra only Jorwe culture is found. No. From 1400 to 700 BC, you can find this Jorwe culture. But before that, there can be another culture also. If you particularly think about this Daimabad, you will find this Savalda culture also. Later period, you will find this Jorwe culture also. and in between these you will find this evidences of Malwa culture also. So remember, if I am saying Ahar culture is found in Rajasthan, this is generic statement. That doesn't mean Ahar culture won't find outside this Rajasthan. It will definitely find you in this Kaitha site also. So if you see Kaitha site, this will first show the evidences of Kaitha culture and they will show these evidences of Ahar culture. No, Hemant. In the first lecture itself, I have told you these cultures can be named based on the region or based on the first discovered site. So, if you consider this Ahar culture, this is called as Ahar culture because first discovered site is Ahar. It is called as Banas culture because it is located in this Banas river valley. But same way of life can be found in other sites also. If you consider this Kaitha culture, first it will Kaitha site. First, this will show the evidences of Kaitha culture. After some time, the way of life of people in this region, in the Kaitha, can be similar to Ahar. So it will also show the evidences of Ahar culture. That's simple. Yes, Vaishali, you haven't attended first and second lecture. The first and second lecture was about this basic understanding, what is meant by culture, what is meant by this age, and all these things, where I have already discussed. If I say culture based on the region, that doesn't mean it is only restricted to that same region. No confusion for anyone? See, so we have already discussed all these points, just we will see here. So painted ceramic, I have already told you. Remember, in my book, I have already given, we have used the painted ceramic for the first time during this Chalcolithic culture, but the statement is wrong. Even during this Neolithic phase. Even during this Neolithic phase, we have used this painted pottery. Only during this Chalcolithic period, we have used this painted pottery in large number. So this is the distinct feature of this Chalcolithic culture. If you consider Ahar culture, we have used this black and red ware with white painted design. If you consider this Jorwe culture, we have used this black on red ware with matte surface, and in the Malwa culture, we have this thick buff ware with red or black design. We have already discussed all these things, right? Subsistence agriculture, I have told you there is no surplus food grain production during this time. You have to remember most important point in the subsistence culture. This is Naudatoli. In Naudatoli, you will find evidences of all food grains. Domestication of animals, I have told you what is more important is they were not acquainted with horses and they did not make the full use of animal. They did not use the animal for milk. Next, rural background. What is most important point in the rural background? They never reached urbanization. But two sites, particularly this Inamgaon and Daimabad, they almost reach urban state. They almost urbanized, but not completely. Next, we have already discussed about this mud houses. Basically, they were living in mud houses started during this Neolithic phase itself. But even during this next phase, that is Chalcolithic culture, they were continued to live in these mud brick houses. Important site here is Gilund. Exception is Gilund. In the Gilund, they have used these burned bricks. Next is art and craft. Next, trade and commerce. We have already discussed about these burial practices. So they basically place this dead body in pot. We call this pot as a urn. U-R-N. They place the body in pot. That pot is called as urn. If you consider this Western India, like Maharashtra, the body is placed in north-south direction. And if you consider in the South India, the body was placed in east-west position. All these facts are important because Chalcolithic is not important for your mains. Stone Age, Chalcolithic, all are important for only fact-based question, and second, match the following question, that is site and their state and culture. So site, state and culture, this is one type of question, and fact-based question, like where you will find these burnt bricks, answer is Gilund. Where you will find almost urbanization, answer is Inamgaon and Daimabad. Where you will find this bronze sheet, answer is Ahar. All these are fact-based question can be asked in prelims. So settlement pattern we have already discussed. Some settlements were larger in size, some settlements were smaller in size. What this indicates? This indicates social inequality. Next is different houses. There are large rectangular houses where these rich people lived, and there are smaller rounded huts where these poor people lived. So this all burial practices and settlement pattern indicate these social inequalities. Next, religious belief. We have found this terracotta figurine of women. So we consider this as a, means we consider this finding as they might worship this mother goddess. We have also found this terracotta model of this bull. So it might be a religious symbol. So these are the important cultures. Which are these? Ahar culture, next is Malwa culture, and next is Jorwe culture. If you see the Ahar culture, it is located mostly in Rajasthan, but don't consider that it is restricted to Rajasthan. No, you can also find this Ahar culture in Madhya Pradesh also. We have already discussed this Kaita site, right? So this Ahar culture most important site is Ahar, and in the Ahar most important point is, in Ahar you will find these bronze objects or bronze sheets. And this Ahar is also called as, initially in ancient time it is called as Tambavati. So this Tamba means copper. So it was a source of copper, that's why it is also called as Tambavati. Next culture is Malwa culture. Where it is located? It is located in this Madhya Pradesh, and in the Malwa culture for us most important site is Navdatoli. In the Navdatoli, remember this important point, all types of food grains are found. Next is Jorwe culture. In Jorwe culture, remember most important site is Daimabad. Why Daimabad is important? This site almost reach urbanization. Almost reach urbanization, and we have also found some bronze objects. Which are the two sites which reach this almost urbanization? First is Inamgaon and then is Daimabad. So we have already discussed all these points. So Ahar culture, in Ahar culture most important site is Ahar. Initially in the ancient time the term used for this Ahar was Tambavati. Why Tambavati? Tamba means copper. So it was a source of copper, and we have also found some bronze sheets. Remember, this is low grade bronze. Low grade bronze. Why this is low grade bronze? Because during this Chalcolithic period people did not aware of making bronze by mixing copper and tin. So they did not use this extensively bronze making during this Chalcolithic culture. Next, in the Malwa culture, most important site for us is Navdatoli. It is located on this Narmada river. But most important point in the Navdatoli is they used all, we have found this almost all type of food grains. So this Jorwe culture, remember the Jorwe culture is found in Maharashtra. In Maharashtra you will find more than 200 sites. More than 200 sites. Why you will find more than 200 sites? Because most extensive excavation took place in this Maharashtra. I already told you, if they have given the statement like the Jorwe culture sites covered modern Maharashtra except Vidarbha and coastal region of Konkan, then mark it as a correct statement. But if they given this statement as a Jorwe cultural sites covered modern Maharashtra except Konkan, then also mark this as a right, because in some text it is given that they covered almost Maharashtra except Konkan and Vidarbha. In some textbook they have given that it covered almost Maharashtra except Konkan. So this Daimabad, why this Daimabad is important? We have found some bronze objects, and this Daimabad and Inamgaon, they almost reach urbanization. So we have discussed this Malwa culture, Ahar culture, all these things. Then chronological classification of Chalcolithic settlement. Remember, suppose this is Chalcolithic culture. It starts around this 4000 BC, right? And it continued till 700 BC. 700 BC. During this same time period, that is 4000 to 700, means when most of these places in most of the regions, these sites are basically in this Chalcolithic culture. Chalcolithic culture means they were basically using copper and tin. At the same time, around this 2600 to 1900. During this time period, 2600 to 1900, in northwestern part of India, people started using this bronze. People started using this bronze, and we have found the Harappan culture or Harappa culture. So when In India, most of the sites were showing this Chalcolithic culture. At the same time, in northwestern part of India, in next lecture we will see this Harappan culture. So all these Chalcolithic sites can be divided into three phases. First is before this 2600 as a pre-Harappan sites, Chalcolithic culture. After this 1900, we can call this as a post-Harappan, and the Chalcolithic culture which were existed along with this Harappan culture, we call this as a Harappan sites. So remember, based on this, it is classified into pre-Harappan, Harappan and post-Harappan. Now remember one important point. So this is Chalcolithic from 4000 to this 700, and this Harappan culture is from 2600 to 1900. So these sites are pre-Harappan, these sites are Harappan, and these sites are post-Harappan. Remember, most of the Chalcolithic sites are post-Harappan. Most of the Chalcolithic sites are post-Harappan, but technologically these are pre-Harappans. Technologically these are pre-Harappans. I will tell you how. If you consider this Chalcolithic culture against this Harappan culture. So in Chalcolithic culture, they did not aware of this bronze, they did not know how to make the bronze, but during this time they know how to make this bronze. Next, during this time they were doing this subsistence agriculture. If you consider this Harappan culture, they were doing this surplus food grain production. As they were doing only subsistence agriculture, you will find some rural societies. If you consider this Harappan, because of this surplus agriculture or surplus food grain production, you will find some urban centers. So they knew this art of writing, reading and all these things. They did not know about this art of writing and reading. So technologically, if you consider Chalcolithic against this Harappan, they knew this art of making bronze, they have this surplus food grain production, they have this urban centers. Means technologically Harappans were advanced as compared to Chalcolithic. So Harappans are here. Though most of the Chalcolithic sites are post-Harappan here, still they are pre-Harappan in technologically. Why? If you consider this Harappan, they are pre-Harappan technologically, means they did not know about how to make this bronze, they have this subsistence agriculture, they have this rural settlements. So do you understand? So remember, these Chalcolithic settlements, these are divided into three groups: pre-Harappan, Harappan and post-Harappan. Most of the settlements are after this Harappa, means after this phase 2600 to 1900. Most of the sites belongs to this post-Harappan phase, but technologically they are pre-Harappan. Technologically they are pre-Harappan. So end of this Chalcolithic culture. Basically this Chalcolithic culture entirely dependent on agriculture. They have this subsistence agriculture, right? So once this agriculture was declined, entire settlement was declined, and the main reason for this is reduced rainfall, decrease in rainfall. So decline in rainfall was main reason for decline in agriculture, and this decline in agriculture is responsible for this decline of this Chalcolithic culture. Importance of Chalcolithic culture. What is important for Chalcolithic culture is, first time you will find large villages in India. If you consider agriculture, though agriculture or subsistence similar to Neolithic, but they cultivated more cereals. They cultivated the more cereal, and most important is, first time during this phase human used the copper in large scale, means in everyday life, means use of common copper was prevalent during this time. Then what are the limitations? See, they have used this metal, like they have used this copper, but they did not know about how to mix this copper with tin and make this bronze. So that's why they were not using this technology properly. They were not technologically advanced, and they could not make this surplus food grain production or urban settlement. So they continue to live in this rural settlement. Though they have used these metals, they continue to live in this rural settlement. In Maharashtra and all these region, they did not do any extensive or intensive cultivation. They did not use animal fully. We have seen this. They did not use the animal for milk. They did not know about how to mix copper with tin to make this bronze. And if you compare with the Harappa, they were technologically backward. In Maharashtra, in Jorwe culture, we have found this evidence of large number of burials of children. What this indicate? This indicate this high infant mortality. Whatever may be the reason, but the fact remains, during this Chalcolithic culture, we have the evidences of this high infant mortality. It may be due to the spread of epidemics. It's quite possible, right? Even in the 21st century, when we have this corona, lakhs of people were killed, right? So similarly, epidemics can be one reason, but there can be another reason like lack of nutrition or lack of knowledge about this health. These are the different reasons. So whatever may be the reason, but we have found this evidences of large number of burials of children in Maharashtra, means they have this high infant mortality rate. Remember this fact, Chalcolithic culture have this high IMR, infant mortality rates. So this is about this Chalcolithic cultures. Any confusion for anyone? What is this discussion about this Eastern India? Rohan, we will discuss in the next lecture. We are discussing about the Harappa culture next lecture. So where we will discuss this trade and all these things. Yes, yes, Hemant. Hemant is saying, sir, is urbanized. Yes, in the next lecture we will see Harappa is urban settlement. But all these Chalcolithic settlements are not urban settlements. These were existed at the same site, same time of Harappa, but these were rural settlements. Means they did not learn from this Harappa. No, no, Harappa is not a Chalcolithic. It is Bronze Age site. See, only the time is same. That doesn't mean all the sites are belonging to the Chalcolithic culture. No. If you see, Chalcolithic culture is from 4000 BC to 700 BC. That doesn't mean all the sites during this time period were Chalcolithic. No, we have already discussed about this Neolithic phase. So, what is the time period of Neolithic? 7000 to 1000, right? So even when there were Chalcolithic culture in some sites or some region, there were still some sites in the Neolithic phase, means they did not use copper. They are still dependent on these polished stone tools. Polished stone tools. Sir, copper was first used in Neolithic culture, but not abundant same in Chalcolithic age. See, copper was not, see the difference between this. In the Neolithic phase, we have just found few objects of copper, or we have found just the initial beginning of this copper. In the Neolithic, we have found just the beginning of copper, means in some Neolithic sites, we have found the evidences of copper. So just beginning of copper or finding some object doesn't mean copper was extensively used. During this Chalcolithic culture, copper was used more commonly, or copper was used in everyday life. But if you compare use of copper with stone, if you compare with the use of copper with stone, then we can say there were more stone tools than these copper tools. But copper was used extensively. Okay, Kaustubh. We will discuss all these different cultures, Ganeshwar, Jodhpur, and all these things. Don't mix here. So any confusion for Rohan, Vikas, Sanjana, Dipti, Hemant, Sridhar, Kaustubh? So in today's lecture, we have completely discussed about Chalcolithic culture only. Remember, there can be some overlapping. If you see this Neolithic phase from 7000 to 1000, then if you consider this 4000, then 4000 to 700 is Chalcolithic. So this is Neolithic, this is Chalcolithic, and if you consider this 2600 to 1900, you will find this Harappa culture. Harappa culture. So at the same time, you are finding in some region Neolithic sites, in other region Chalcolithic site, and in northwestern part of India, Indian subcontinent, from this time period 2600 to 900, you will find this Harappa culture or Harappan culture. That doesn't mean all this comes between this period is Neolithic or all this comes between this period is Chalcolithic. No, don't consider that. Culture means way of life.